All right. Welcome,
Got
welcome,
it.
welcome. Thank you, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. That was very kind of you. Very kind words. Pastor Odom. Thank you so much for having me. I am Chef Ashley Shep, and I help busy moms get dinner done faster with quick, healthy, and tasty meals. And tonight we are going to be making one of my favorite recipes. It's been modified for the Daniel Fast. Of course, you all are doing your Daniel Fast currently, and thank you for having me back. I think this is the second year that I've been back with you all, and it's always a pleasure. I actually also have family up in Maryland, up your way, Capitol Heights, Clinton, Baltimore. So I'm familiar with the DMV and Maryland area as well. So before we get started, you all have your copies of the Daniel Fast 21 Day Food and Faith Journal that the church has made available to you all. I do also want to introduce my newest book, which is a cookbook, which makes sense. After writing the 21 Day devotional, I kept getting requests and people would say, I mean, okay, but there's no recipes in there. So what am I going to make? How am I going to know how to cook and things of that sort? And so this is my newest release. And actually, let me switch to this one. And it includes over 50 recipes that are Daniel Fast friendly. So that means they don't include meat, no sweets, no added sugar, and also nothing that is fried. And so, of course, when we're doing the Daniel Fast, we are following that regimen after Daniel in the Bible when he decided to have no pleasant foods. Of course, different translations say it differently, but we generally follow that: no meats, no sweets, no added sugar. And so I actually, let's see if I can get my other screen working for you all. So, okay, let's see. Can you see? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my second screen with the cutting board on it? Okay, perfect. So I'll do a little quick preview and then we'll get started on our dish. So for the cookbook, and let me turn it that way. So like I said, there's over 50 recipes. And if you want to grab a copy, you can visit danielfastmeals.com. There's digital and actual spiral or hardcover copies available. And so the first portion of the book talks about planning, because when you're doing the Daniel Fast, you want to make sure that you are planning out what you're going to have. And it's very easy to get off track if you don't make a plan. And so the beginning
So
talks.
we can't see that book. It looks like it's far away.
Oh, is that any better? On the second screen, that's what I was saying. The second screen, I have the phone. If you look at my other pinned camera, let's see. Like you see me here, but then you should also be able to see a separate camera.
But it's a small one. The other one is small.
Um, okay. Let's see. Let me see if I pin it, is that any better? Can you see that or no?
Did you pin it?
Yeah, I pinned it, but it might just pin it for me, not for you all. Did it change anything on your end?
No.
Okay. Can you go
We,
to
we still see we still see you as the picture.
Can you go to that second screen and try to pin it on your screen? I think because you're the host, it might change it for people that way. So if you click the three dots in the top right on that second screen, that's small, and then see if you can click pin or spotlight.
Okay, now I see it.
Okay. All right, perfect. So thank you for letting me know. Okay, so here's the cookbook, and it includes over 50 recipes that are Daniel Fast friendly. And the first part I was saying is including talking about different ways to plan for your meals. So making sure that you have options that are ready to go. Also planning for your prayer time, because it's important to make sure that you are being intentional about your prayer time, spending time with the Lord. Of course, you can talk to God all day, but having set aside prayer time during your fast is especially important. And then the next section focuses on the prep of things. So that's actually preparing your meals. I also discuss what foods you can eat. And when you look at this, it's a long list. Often when people are doing the Daniel fast, they get worried or concerned or worked up because they're thinking, well, I can't eat anything. But God is so creative, and he's the original creator. And so he gave us lots of different options that we can have on the Daniel fast. So any fruits, nuts, vegetables, seeds, whole grains, if you're doing that version of the fast. beans, legumes, and we're actually going to be using chickpeas tonight. Okay, and then we move into the prep section. I've also included meal plans that are done for you. So either where you have spaces to choose extra options you want to include, or if you're somebody who thinks, I just want to have it completely and entirely done, then I've got that done for you as well for 3 weeks of the fast. And in addition, grocery shopping lists for those 3 weeks. So you're set and ready to go with that. And each copy of the physical book comes with a digital copy. So if you want to print these out, then you have that as an option as well. All right, and so I'm going to flip quickly to show you some of the recipes. And then we'll get started with our dish tonight, which is my Cajun skillet. And so breakfast options.
Can I ask you about the oatmeal in the jars? I just saw a picture of that.
Sure.
So what is that basically?
So doing it this way helps you to be able to prepare it ahead of time. So instead of making oatmeal each day, you can put it in a mason jar, any resealable container, and you can add your dry ingredients first, and then add the wet ingredients later on the day you're going to eat it. So for example, I have a couple different options. So oat berry blend, bananas and coconut, apple cinnamon, and so on. And so, like I said, your dry ingredients, you would add those first. You can make a couple of them for the week. And then when you're ready to eat them, then you can add those wet ingredients the day you're actually going to have it.
So the oatmeal, when you put it in, it's dry.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You can
Okay.
add the wet stuff beforehand. You just would want to store it in the fridge, and it would only last in the fridge probably about a day or two. But if you just do dry, you can store it in the pantry, add your wet stuff the day you want to eat it. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. And I make these even when I'm not on the fast. You just can add different ingredients then. So
Okay. So what causes the oatmeal to soften?
So when you are going to make it, then you would add water, or you could do plant-based milk. So like, for example, the strawberries and cream, you can do plant-based, no sugar added milk. So like almond milk, hemp milk, oat milk, things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem. Good question. And I'll stop once I get to our dish for tonight. Most of the options are going to be things you can find very easily in stores that are local to you. I tried to make it so that there's not a lot of random obscure ingredients. So that way you're not having a hard time trying to find things. And so that you can spend more time focusing on your faith. All right, I'm going to skip a couple pages. So tonight we are making this dish. So this is my Cajun skillet with chickpeas. If you have people in your home that are not doing the Daniel Fast, then you can actually make this dish and swap out the protein. So you could have it with shrimp. This works well. You could do it with andouille sausage for those that are not doing the Daniel Fast. So as was mentioned, I have a 4-year-old and then an 8-month-old. And so if I were to make this, I would add different proteins for them, or I could just let them have this as is, because it's just chickpeas. So it's not something that is an allergen. All right, so now if you can, it's up to you. I'll be prepping this way. So if you want to keep this as the bigger screen or the other one as the other screen, it's up to you, Pastor Odom. So whichever you prefer.
I think the one that we have right now is good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so once again, and then the last part of the book. So once again, over 50 recipes. The last part of the book is discussing your prayer life. And so giving you different ways to connect with God, what to do to prepare for your fast. There are Bible verses throughout as well. And then what to do once you get off of the fast, because some people tend to just kind of rush off of the fast. And you want to make sure you are transitioning in the proper way. So that's the rest of the book. And that's at danielfastmeals.com. So we're going to be making our my Cajun skillet. Let me set this back over here. Now I already had my rice in my rice cooker. That's another recipe that's in here too, and it's just seasoned rice, because brown rice is something you can have on a fast, and it makes it so that you doing the seasoned option makes it so you have a little bit of variety. So Right now, I didn't add any extra seasonings to mine, but you could do things like onion powder, garlic powder, um, fresh herbs. So rosemary works really well in there. Um, if you are a Chipotle fan, they use cilantro lime rice. And so I gave some different examples of what you can add to your rice over here. Or if you just want plain brown rice, that's fine too. So that's going in the rice cooker. And let me stick this back here. All right, and then we're gonna get started. So we'll also do an overview of things you can have, some more examples of what to have in your kitchen so that you're stocked and ready. But I'm gonna go ahead and get our dish started. So tonight we are using a bell pepper. You can pick whichever bell pepper type you would like. So it doesn't have to be this color. It's totally up to you. You can pick which color you would like. And then I picked yellow because it's going to pop really well in my dish. Green also works. And I have an onion. My 4-year-old, he likes to help me cook. And so he started peeling this for me because he wants to help. So I have just a yellow onion. And then I've got some tomato sauce. You can use crushed tomatoes as well. And then I've got some Cajun seasoning. You want to make sure you get sugar-free Cajun seasoning. And this is an example of one that would work. This is just from Walmart. It's their organic one. And there's no added sugar on the ingredients list. You want to get sugar-free Cajun seasoning. And this is about 2 tablespoons. You can judge this, give or take, based upon how spicy you want it to be. Then I've got onion powder and garlic. You can use fresh as well, which I will likely do. So I've got some fresh garlic also. Then bay leaves. And I'm going to get from my stash behind me. We're going to use diced tomatoes. You can also get the fire roasted diced tomatoes if you like it extra spicy. And then chickpeas. So chickpeas are, have you heard of garbanzo beans? They're similar to, they're the same thing. They just have different names. And they don't really have a ton of flavor by themselves, but you can season them really well. And then they'll taste like whatever you season them like. And so they also are a good source of protein, which you will need when you're on the fast. So for example, half a cup is 6 grams of protein. And so you want to make sure you're having enough protein on the fast. And in the cookbook, I do, one of the recipes is roasted chickpeas. You can actually roast these in the oven and they'll get crunchy. And that way, if you have like a salty tooth, instead of a sweet tooth, if you have a salty preference, then you can use those for that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping my item. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, or if it's okay with Pastor Odom, if you want to come on the mic and ask them. Either way works for me. So I cut my bell pepper in half. And then I just went like this to pull out the center and also pull out the seeds. I have a trash bucket that I like to use, just like you see on those cooking shows. So that way, when you are cooking, you're not having to run back and forth to the trash can. And if you have those grocery bags, those plastic grocery bags, you can actually just use that instead of this. And I mean the produce bags, so the ones that your produce comes in, you can use that instead of getting another dish to kind of dirty. So, all right, so with this, I'm going to chop them into bite-sized pieces. And then for my oil, I'm going to use avocado oil, which you can get at any major grocery store. It's a good healthy, it's got healthy fats in it. I'm gonna add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of this into my skillet. And then I'll saute my onions and peppers. Let me turn my skillet on. so just bite-sized pieces, and you can use any bell pepper you would like. I use what I have. And um, one thing about bell peppers is that they're actually the same pepper. It's just that they're at different levels of gestation. So if you think if you think about kind of a backwards rainbow, the green bell pepper would be the one that's picked first, and then it turns yellow, then it turns orange, then it turns red. So the red bell peppers are more expensive. The red bell peppers are more expensive usually because they take the longest to be able to be picked because it's the last, not the last color, but it's one of the last colors that it turns. So they're all the same thing. They just have different stages of growth. And is my volume okay? Can y'all hear me? Okay. Yes. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, your volume is fine. I never knew that about bell peppers.
Yeah, I found it out about 5 years ago, and I felt cheated and gypped because I'm like, you charge so much more for the red ones than the green ones, but that's why, because it takes longer for them to grow. All right, so we just got. Let me move these out the way. You can see. So just chopped into bite-sized pieces, and let me move this. All right, then I'm going to chop my onion. I just have this over medium to medium high heat. If you are someone who likes your peppers and onions crunchy, then you can do a lower heat or cook it for a shorter amount of time. And so I just chop the ends off my onion. Oh, making out. Let me get that. Sorry, my cord came out. Let me get that from my skillet. Sorry about that. What I was saying is, if you like crunchy onions and peppers, then you can actually not cook yours for as long. So, okay. So then and I'm gonna dice this as well. You could make it a little smaller, which I might do smaller than my bell peppers. My husband doesn't like onions, but I cook everything with onions, and so I'd make it a little smaller for him. And so I slice this way, going across, and then turn the onion to come this way. And go. And the knife that I'm using, it's called a Santoku knife. And so it's a good quality knife to use for pretty much everything. You can chop tomatoes, potatoes, onions, bell peppers. And when you're holding it, you want to kind of grab it like this. And it looks like you're a little too close, but it gives you more control over the knife. So this already smells really good. Make sure you stir. All right. We'll do a little more onions. You could do half an onion or a whole one. Totally up to you. And if you need to use pre-chopped onions or garlic or peppers, that's totally fine. It's just generally a little bit more expensive. All right, so with my chickpeas, I'm gonna drain them. So I'm gonna pour them out, rinse them, and drain them. And I'm using 2 cans. You can use one. If you're cooking for like a family of 4 or more, I'd probably use 2. So I'm gonna rinse these out. All right, so if you're someone who's watching your salt, generally you want to use pink Himalayan sea salt, which like this. And I like to call it a saltier salt, so meaning that you have to use less of it. However, because we're using Cajun seasoning, there's already salt in here, so I'm not going to add salt separately. I am going to add a little bit of that seasoning to my onions and peppers to help get it toasted just a little bit. And that just helps to build the flavor. And then I'm going to push these out to the side. You could take them out of the pan if your pan was small or smaller than mine. I'm actually going to leave them in. Or no, actually, no, I'm taking them out. Now that I think about it, since I have more chickpeas, you can totally leave them in there. The onions and peppers will just continue to cook and caramelize. I'm getting some good flavor on those, good color. And if you miss some and end up leaving it in the pan, no big deal. All right, I'm gonna put that off to the side. Let me just show you. Some good color on those. And then we're gonna add our chickpeas. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil. And I'm gonna add those chickpeas. And you can eat these raw. So one of the recipes that I have is the Greek salad. And so those are roasted, but you can also have them raw. They don't taste like very much though. So I like to season them up. And you'll find these in the grocery store right next to the beans. And they have them at most major grocery stores. All right, so I'm gonna let that cook down a little bit. It does have a lot of liquid with it. I rinsed them out. Gonna add some Cajun seasoning. And this is about 1 to 2 tablespoons. It just depends how spicy you want it to be. I might add some more actually. And so I'm gonna let that cook down just a bit. And then I'm going to chop my garlic. You can use pre-chopped garlic, or you can just use garlic powder. That's fine. Either way. And however much garlic you use is totally up to you. At least 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, if not more. So I'm gonna do 5. And so to break the garlic pretty easily, you're gonna take the back part of the knife and then put your hand like this, and then place it like that. And then what that will do is it will flatten it, and then it'll take the peel off. There are also little garlic millers, I think is what they're called, where you can just roll the garlic inside of it. So if you don't have a lot of hand strength, you can do that instead. So if you already have the cookbook, this recipe is called Cajun Skillet. And then there are other chickpea recipes as well. One of them is roasted chickpeas. And you can season it with things like Cajun seasoning. You could do taco seasoning, smoked paprika, garlic, onion powder. Any kind of way you would season meat, that's the same way you can kind of season your chickpeas. And as far as textures, this one's going to be not crunchy. It'll be a little soft. But if you were to roast it in the oven, then you would get that crunchy texture. All right. I got my garlic. I'm going to chop this and add it to the center. The same way we chop that onion, up and down, and then rotating it. Or you could just do it all sideways, and you'll get little slices instead. All right. So when your liquid has reduced, meaning it's gone down, there's not a ton of liquid left. As you can see, we want to make sure we're also seasoning it some more. So our garlic powder, and then our onion powder. Of course, seasonings are estimates, so season to your heart's desire. And the good thing about this on the Daniel Fast, because you're not making meat, if you actually wanted to taste test it, you could take one out and test it and see what it tastes like to see if you need more seasoning, and you don't have to worry about getting sick because there's no meat in it. Let me do a little closer look. Okay, now I'm gonna add my tomatoes. So I'm gonna add my tomato sauce. Actually, no, let me do my garlic first. And let that saute a bit. A little more oil. Then I'm gonna open my can. You could use fire roasted tomatoes or just regular diced tomatoes. If you like it spicy, use the fire roasted. If you don't like it very spicy, then you want to use the just regular diced. And if you notice that your pan is starting to do this, then you can actually just get some water and do something called deglazing the pan. So that's where you take a liquid. When you're not doing the Daniel Fast, that liquid could be chicken broth, I'm just using water in this case. You could use a vinegar could work, cooking wine, that would work. In this case, you could use water or veggie broth for the fast. All right, I'm gonna add my sauce. This is, you can do crushed tomatoes or tomato sauce. Oh. Okay. And then let me get my can opener for my diced tomato. And you're gonna keep all the juice that comes with this. Now, so I suggest doing one can and seeing how you like the consistency. If you want it to be a little bit more saucy, a little saucier, you can actually use 2 cans. Or you can actually use also more of the sorry, mommy brain. You could use more of the tomato sauce instead of the diced tomatoes. Then, of course, don't forget about your onions and peppers. So we'll let this cook just a little bit and then we'll add those in. I'm going to also add a bay leaf. You can add 1 or 2. I only have a few left, so I'm going to toss those in there. And I am going to add another can of tomatoes. Want it to be a little bit more liquid. And any questions or comments? Y'all are quiet today. Maybe you're just watching and enjoying.
Yeah, I noticed you use quite a bit of powder. The 2 powders that you added.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because the chickpeas don't really have a taste, a flavor?
Yes. I mean, I put onion powder and garlic powder and everything, and because of the quantities of this, the cans of chickpeas, this is about 2 pounds of chickpeas. So if you think about if you were seasoning 2 pounds of meat, you would use a good bit of seasoning. I'm actually gonna add some more. And then also it's getting diluted by the tomatoes as well. And these are just plain tomatoes. I didn't use the fire roasted, so there's not really any flavor in this either. So between all 3 of those, and then the chickpeas not having a strong flavor, yes. So you might find that for stuff to be edible for you on the fast, you might need to add more seasoning than you might generally. But like I said, you can always taste test it and see. Like, I mean, I can eat this right now and nothing will happen to me. So I'll test it and see about the seasoning. I probably need some more garlic powder and onion powder. But yes, because of the lack of taste in the, yes, so it needs some more. But if you season in layers, then that'll help too. And there's not a lot of salt in here. And I know that looks like a lot because this is a big container. But really that's probably less than a teaspoon of what I just put in just now. I'm gonna do some garlic powder and I'm gonna add my and that's probably a teaspoon. If you have the Cajun seasoning that is no or low sodium, you probably are going to want to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of that sea salt to it. I'm gonna add these back. So let me move this closer so y'all can see. I'm gonna add my onions and peppers back in. You could also add spinach in here. It just, if you like your spinach to be wilted, you can add it in the last like 3 to 5 minutes. And then that way you got your veggie in it as well. But just look at this color. So you got some nice color going on. Just gonna combine that. And then you would season to taste. So you would add more seasoning to your likings. And some people in the Daniel fast, they don't even want to use seasoning at all. So if that's you, then you can feel free to not add any of this. But other folks like myself, they say, okay, no, I need some seasoning. And if you notice that it's a little thin or a little thick, you can add no sugar added veggie broth. Or you can add water to it. When you add that water, it is going to dilute the seasonings. So just be mindful of that. And I'm gonna let this simmer on low for just a little bit. Okay. And so we'll give that probably about 2 to 3 minutes. It doesn't need very. But so one of the great things about this dish is that you can serve it over rice. Well, I guess y'all cannot see this. You can serve it over rice. You can have it with quinoa, which is another one. Oh, we have questions. Okay, so I use garlic and fresh garlic. Why both? So when you're cooking, you want to layer your seasonings to add different depths of flavor. I honestly put garlic powder and onion powder on pretty much everything I make because sometimes you don't feel like chopping fresh garlic. Sometimes you don't have time to chop fresh garlic. And to me, it just adds different dimensions. For this one, this is a granulated garlic. And so it's a little bit more potent, I guess I should say, a little bit more condensed than your like fresh garlic might. But I just like garlic, so I use both. You don't have to use both though. Good question. All right. Can you use other colored peppers and pepper and salt? Yes. So you can use pepper and salt. It was already inside of the Cajun seasoning, so I didn't add it. The Cajun seasoning also has this one has chipotle pepper in it, which is spicy. So I didn't add regular pepper to it, and it has salt already in it. So that's why you didn't see me add pepper and salt, but you can definitely add pepper and salt to your liking. I just know some folks are salt conscious, and so I didn't add any additional ones because my garlic, or not my garlic, my Cajun seasoning, the first ingredient is sea salt. So I didn't add extra salt. So you do want to check that before you're just adding salt to it because you could make it too salty. So that's why you want to taste it as you go along. These are some great questions. So, okay, we have 7 seconds. I'm going to take this off. All right. So now if you're somebody who wants your dish to timer. If you want your onions and peppers to be a little softer, you can continue to cook this. It'll just get softer with it. And it's kind of like a stew or similar if you've had okra soup without the okra. You could throw okra in here. I don't like okra, so I didn't include it. But it's another good veggie that you can add into it. That's a running joke in my house because I'm from Charleston and everybody from Charleston loves okra, but I don't. So, but you can add that to here if you would like to. And I'm going to get the rice out of the rice cooker and put it on top of that. But keep adding your questions to the chat. Let me get my rice out of my rice cooker. And you might be wondering, why did I use a rice cooker? So if anybody's wondering that, you can add a 1 to the chat and I'll tell you why when I get there. All right, got our rice. So I just did brown rice. Can we let's see, can we switch to the other camera because I'm going to show some things behind me too. So I've got my brown rice, and I cooked this in. You want to do 2 parts water, 1 part rice. So I just did 2 cups of rice, and then 4 cups of water in the rice cooker. Can you let me know when it switched to the other one so I can know what camera to focus on? And then I'll keep talking. Um, so you can also do this, like I said, you could do rosemary in your brown rice. That is a very nice herb to use in there. For your Mexican or taco dishes, you can do cilantro in the rice. But when you do that, you want to add it after it's cooked. With the rosemary, you can put it right in there with the water or with your broth. Okay, so I'm gonna add this on top. And you can take your bay leaves out either beforehand or you can take them out when you plate it. Take it, some of the bay leaves, put that back in our dish. Right, so okay, so then we got our chickpeas, our tomatoes, our onions, our bell peppers, our onions, and our brown rice. Okay, we got another question. Okay, so what brand of sugar-free vegetable broth do I use? You can only find the organic broth, which is a little expensive. So I want to say College or Cottage Inn. It has a blue background on it. They have a vegetable broth. Sometimes the store brand also is a good option. You do want to find the one that has no sugar added, which is kind of tricky because a lot of them have added sugar. Another option is all of the scraps that you have. You can make your own veggie broth. If you have time. It sounds complicated, but it's not. So all those scraps that you have, so your onion peel, your garlic peel, the ends of your vegetables, you can actually boil it with water. It's about 4 cups of water, and all those vegetables that you've been eating over the week, put them in a bag, throw it in the freezer, put it in a freezer safe bag, add the water, and then you can just cook it within the water, strain it, and then that's veggie broth. So, and then that way, there's no added sugar. But check, I think it's Cottage Inn. It's either Cottage Inn or College Inn. And then check your store brand because often the store brands use the same one that the name brands do. They just change the label. So good question. All right. Pastor Odom, are we able to switch cameras to or maybe you already switched. Did you already switch oh, go ahead.
I have them side by side.
Oh,
So
okay, look at you. Okay, perfect. Okay, I know you said you weren't sure before. Okay, wonderful. So, I'm gonna go ahead and try it. But let me know in the chat if this is something you would try, what modifications you might make to it. It's a little hot. If you're not a fan of diced tomatoes, you can actually use just tomato sauce instead. Too hot.
Looks good.
But it's good. It's hot, but it's good. Excuse me. Thank you, Miss Cynthia. So yeah, so really the chickpeas, if you're like, I don't know about chickpeas, they really don't add a ton of extra flavor to it. You're seasoning it, so however you season it is how it's gonna taste. So, and that was one thing that I was very intentional about with the cookbook is making sure I added recipes that were ones you could make on or off the fast. So when I'm not doing the Daniel fast, then I will make this with shrimp, and then I don't use the chickpeas. And then I'll add like an andouille sausage, like I said earlier, but the same kind of concept. So it's just swapping out and thinking about, okay, what can I do to focus less on what I'm eating and focus more on spending time with God so that I'm in and out of the kitchen. And if you have kids or grandkids, this is actually a good option because it's tomato based and kids like ketchup. And so it will make it so that it's familiar to them, but not exactly the same. You would use probably a little bit less of the Cajun seasoning if they don't like spicy things. My son likes spicy food, so he will probably not have a problem with this. But just in case, in case that's not something that your kids or grandkids like. I hate to eat in front of y'all without y'all eating anything, but are there any other questions I can answer? Let me check the chat. Let's see. And they don't have. Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, I was gonna say I'm sorry. I had to leave and come back, so I apologize if you said this.
Oh,
So when I'm not on the fast per se, because I'm a rice person, I love rice, and I had kind of like a acquired taste for brown rice on the fast. But
okay.
this can also be made with white rice.
Yes, you can absolutely do this with white rice. We generally have brown rice in our house, but white rice would be the same. It would work fine. You can still do the seasoned rice as well. So adding your fresh herbs. If you want something a little different, you can totally do that. So you could do rosemary white rice, even jasmine rice would work nice.
Jasmine. That's what I was gonna ask about jasmine. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it would work nice with this. Let me turn this off. Yeah. Quinoa you could do with this. That's another high protein. It's not a grain, but it looks like a grain. That's another option as well. Good question. Thank you.
Chef
Looks like
Ashley.
looks like pineapple.
I'm sorry, say it again.
No, I was saying it looked like pineapples in it.
You do the green bell
Like
peppers.
a sweet and sour something. Yeah. I'm sorry, Bo.
No. Chef Ashley, did you mention the difference in the taste of the peppers, like the green, yellow, and red?
I didn't. So the closer it is to red, the sweeter it will be. And by sweeter, I use that loosely because bell peppers are not really sweet, but you can definitely taste a difference between a green bell pepper and a red bell pepper. So the closer it is to red, the sweeter it is. So the red ones are the sweetest out of those. The green ones are going to be not as sweet. Normally, I do use green bell peppers in this. I didn't have one, but that's the beauty of this dish because the sauce is going to cover it up anyway. And the Cajun seasoning is going to do what it does. Then you can use any color bell pepper. So good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions for Chef Ashley? I know we're doing this Cajun skillet, but if you have any other additional questions about any meals or any foods for the fast, we're on day 10, 11 more days to go. And if you have any questions about, some of the foods that you are eating, I have some chickpea noodles.
Okay. I don't have those out. Yes, those definitely work. I have some in the pantry. Do you have a question about what to do with them or?
No, I was just letting you know I have it, it seems like now that everybody's fasting, you find more and more foods in the store that you can use. And that's one of the things I picked up was the chickpea noodles
Oh, okay.
to make with some tomatoes and some Italian sauce, to make a dish, something like that.
Yeah.
It's
and
a quick, easy meal, but it's just the fact that I was able to find chickpea noodles in the store.
Right. And so if you're looking for chickpea noodles, once again, they don't taste a lot different. This brand called Banza, Banza.
That's what I have. Mm-hmm.
They have chickpea noodles. Also, lentil noodles are a good option as well. Barilla, Barilla, has it. They have lentil noodles. They don't really taste any different than regular noodles. I know you're thinking lentil noodles, but you can't really tell the difference. So that's another good option. Or if you just get a whole wheat, like this is a whole wheat spaghetti. And you're just making sure those ingredients, in this case, the only ingredient is whole durum wheat flour, so whole wheat. And so you could even have this. But yes, okay, I like that. Being adventurous. Let me know how those noodles. Let me know how those noodles are when you try them as well. And then if you needed a pasta sauce, this one, I don't think y'all have Kroger up there. Y'all have Smiths or Kings or Albertsons? None of that?
No.
No. Shoppers, none of those?
We have choppers.
Okay, I think it's the same thing. This is a no sugar added tomato sauce. This is just a store brand. And when you're checking, it's okay if there's sugar over here. So where it says total sugars, or I'll try to pull that closer so you can see. If it says there's some total sugars, that's okay. You just want to check that added sugar. So tomatoes naturally are going to have sugar in it. So it's going to say sugar. However, you don't want it to say added sugars because that means somebody added sugar on top of the naturally occurring sugar. And then
I'm glad you mentioned that because I do check my labels and I'm just looking for 0 sugar. But a lot of things do have a small 1 or 2 or 3 grams of sugar.
Right.
And especially if you get any kind of fruit, it's going to be sweet anyway. It's going to have some sugar. You're not going to have sugar-free fruit. So
Exactly.
I'm glad that you did mention that because it's at this time that we are looking at labels and the sugar is the first thing I know I look at when I'm looking at something is that the sugar. But I'm glad you differentiated between the sugar that's in there and the added sugar.
Right, yeah. And even the chickpeas, like these are not sweet, but they have sugar in them just naturally, but they have 0 added sugar. Here's my little one. So so you want to check the labels on this side. So ingredients, if you're looking for sugar on the labels, then it might say something that ends in ose. So sucralose, dextrose. It might say molasses. All of those are different forms of sugar. And I have a video over my YouTube that I can send the link for called The Many Names of Sugar that talk to you about what to look out for. Because there's other things that don't just say sugar. So you want to be mindful of that. Okay, so Ellen asked, when did I add the oregano? Ellen, I forgot the oregano, but you would add it towards the end. So when I was adding that second round of onion powder and garlic powder, you would add it with that. But this dish is very forgiving. So if you add things at different times, you're not going to mess it up. So it's kind of like a stew situation, like a stewed tomato kind of thing. So you won't mess it up. So good question. But I did forget those. So you're right. Thank you for letting me know. That happens. Mommy brain again.
Anybody else got any questions about anything? Any meals they're preparing?
Need to know a
I
good.
have a question in the chat. Did you see hers? Ellen, I had a question.
Yes, I just answered hers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you for looking out for her. Someone else had a question too?
I'd like a good salad dressing that I could eat with like regular salad.
Okay. Do you want the spiritual answer or you want the practical answer?
Look, your option.
Okay. So I'll give you both. Practicality, you're not really going to find a store pre-made salad dressing that's really compliant. It's either going to have added sugar or it's going to have an oil that is unhealthy. It's not like a healthy plant-based oil. Primal Kitchen has some options, but they don't taste very good. So I don't, in terms of their vegan ones, their other ones are okay. But the ones I've seen, I wouldn't recommend them. So generally, what I tell people is you can do oil and vinegar, which I know that's not exciting, but it's an option. Or you can do some mashed avocado, and then thin it out with like an olive oil, and add some seasoning. So you could do like all-purpose seasoning mixed in with that. And so that's an option. Or you could do salsa, which I know is not salad dressing. However, it will give your body and your mind the thought of this is a liquidy type situation that's on top of my dish. So if you were to do like a taco salad, adding salsa there. If you're doing vinegar, so balsamic vinegar and olive oil, there's not really a ton of options. And what I tell people is at some point on the fast, you're going to encounter something that having the real thing is not the same as the substitute. And I relate it back to God that a lot of times we try to put things above God, or we try to replace things and try to reach and achieve those things. Like, oh, if I just get this, then I'll be good. Or I just get this and I get that. And then you get the thing and you're like, this is not what I really wanted it to be. And same thing with your salad dressings. It's not going to be a honey mustard or ranch or blue. It's not going to be that. And so I tell people either consider avoiding it altogether, and you'll only find one salad in the cookbook. And for that one, I do recommend a store-bought Greek dressing, but I didn't give a particular brand for it. But you only find one salad in here just because salad dressings there's not a lot of options that are out there that I would recommend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope that helps.
So
It does.
the one salad dressing that I use is Newman's, but it is oil and vinegar. So it's not anything fancy. It is the oil and vinegar.
That sort of tastes like Italian, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can add some Italian seasoning in there and that will kind of do a little something for you. And you could even do like a drizzle of like red wine vinegar instead of just regular vinegar with that oil. So just a little something. But yeah, it's not going to be the same.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nobody ever asks about what we can drink. I know we do water, basically just water. Other than 100% juice, I've seen that listed before.
Yeah. So I do have some smoothie recipes in the cookbook, which are mostly fruits. Some have spinach in them. You can do vegetable juice, so V8. If it's no sugar added, you can do that. Some people don't even do fruit juices, but I think that's very kind of legalistic, because if I can have a piece of fruit, why can I not have a mashed up piece of fruit or a blended piece of fruit? So I'm in favor of the fruit juices as well. But that's pretty much it. You can do sparkling water if you're wanting the carbonation. But even then, it's not going to taste like soda. So, and a lot of the sparkling waters, if you do the flavored ones, they have added sugar in them. So, yeah, so stick with the fruit juice. So this is a smoothie. This one's a berry oat smoothie. You could do spinach in here as well. And so this has your berry of choice. Oats. You could do a non-dairy milk. So like almond milk, coconut milk, hemp milk. You want to make sure those are unsweetened. Fruit juices. This one is a tropical smoothie with mango, banana, spinach. Excuse me. But yeah, those are pretty much it. Really, water is going to be what you actually need out of anything, because you're having a lot more fruits and vegetables than you normally would have. And you want to make sure everything is flowing and doing what it needs to do and that your body is processing those things. So sticking with water. Okay. All right, got more questions. So apple cider, 100% juice, Izzy. I don't know the ingredients in Izzy, so just be a little mindful of that. I don't know if they have added sugars in those. If they don't, then keep going with that. Okay, Betty said Miss Betty said she's used diet cranberry juice. That's 2% sugar. And that sugar could come from the cranberries. It doesn't necessarily have to be the added sugar. You just want to read the back of it and check that label and make sure that that's where the sugar is coming from. Okay, apple cider. Apple cider like the drink or apple cider vinegar? I think you just mean apple cider like the drink. It depends on how it's made. So hard apple cider goes through like a malt process similar to, okay, so regular cider. I mean, the only ingredients is apples, so I would think that's fine. But I'm not Jesus. My book's not the Bible, so you also need to consult with the Holy Spirit and see if that's something is it something where you are longing for that thing more than longing for God, or is it something you're using as a crutch? Is it just something you have on occasion? I like apple cider. I love it. So, but it's just apples. I mean, I would think it's okay. Okay, so Ellen said no sugar dressing by Brianna's. Okay, thank you for that recommendation. And then real French vinegar dressing. Okay, thank you. Good to know. For I think it was Miss Bo who was asking for.
Hey, can you see this? This is. Can you see the dressing? I'm trying to put the picture on.
Your face, and then it will. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make you bigger so I can. Okay, good to know. What can we see the ingredients, or can you read the ingredients?
The ingredients is canola oil, the water, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, salt, garlic puree, um, spices, mustard, flour, and then it do have the whatever gum, that X gum.
Oh, xanthan gum. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, flour, you're not supposed to have technically, unless it's whole wheat flour, but it's such a small amount. That's a you and God decision. So if it's up to
What
you.
flour?
You said flour was one of the last ingredients.
Oh, mustard. It was saying mustard flour.
Oh, mustard flour. Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah. Works. So Brianna's, I'll have to go check that one out.
Apparently. Oh shit.
Say again?
Oh, I think can I?
Oh, okay. You were frozen.
I'm thinking that the mustard flour is probably the mustard seed
Ground up, yeah.
ground up really.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you were saying mustard, comma, flour, but mustard flour. Okay, yes.
mustard flour.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
I use this all the time.
I'm gonna save that.
Is it good?
Yeah. Well, it's good to me because I don't like ranch and I don't like a lot of other stuff that most people like the French, the orangey looking French dressing. And
The
most
Russian.
of those I don't like. And I think because over the years I have changed, it's like every time we go through a fast or go through a diet, it's something that I pick up and my mouth, my taste bud change. So like, this one actually tastes good to me, so,
Thank you
and
for sharing that.
Where
so
did
maybe
you get it?
I got it from Walmart, not Whole Food. What's the other place that with a W? Wegmans. Wegmans. It's a little more expensive at Wegmans. That's why I get it at Walmart.
That's right.
Same exact thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they have different kinds, but this one actually said no sugar.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
I
I'll have
don't
to
know.
check that one out. I haven't
Okay.
seen it. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Whew. Okay, I'm almost done with my plate. Any other question? And they don't have to be specific to this dish, so it could just be about your fast in general, or just about mealtime, because when I'm not doing the Daniel fast, I do work with families to help them with dinner options or eating options. So not just not just
I
dinner.
have a question. This is Ellen again. I noticed that sometime when I'm on the Daniel fast, or because I have some diabetic issues,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pre-diabetic, and so I know that when I eat just the vegetables, just the potatoes, just the stuff like that, my blood sugar goes all over the place sometimes. So what's the best way of kind of
Maintaining your blood sugar.
maintaining that, yeah, good blood sugar? I mean, because it just goes, sometimes it's too low,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it'll shoot up as soon as I eat, way up, so.
Okay. So first I do have to say I'm not a medical professional, so I can't give you medical advice. And since you are pre-diabetic, that would kind of fall within that. My husband is also diabetic though, and so, or not also because you're pre, but he is diabetic and he does do the Daniel fast. And so it sounds as if there could be a large discrepancy between the things you might be having on a regular basis versus what you're having on the fast in terms of what your regular diet might look like. That could be the case. It might be that you need to have a modified Daniel fast, like maybe you aren't able to do the full-blown version. Maybe you need to have some additional animal proteins within your diet, and it could just be plain chicken. It doesn't have to be, maybe you're still not doing deep fried chicken. like everybody else, but maybe you're adding different things in there to not make it such a huge jump or such a huge shift, because it sounds like your body might be trying to figure out like, what is going on? What are we doing? And that sometimes can make things worse if you're going back and forth like that. So definitely consult with your doctor and see what options that they have for you, and let them know, hey, I want to change this, I want to do this. So that way they're aware and they can give you specifics that are suited to your needs, because you still can do it, but you want to do it the way that works well with your body. And so making sure that you are just mindful of what you're having either right before or right after, and seeing what kind of things they have as options for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Sorry, I don't know if that was helpful, or I know I
No,
can't.
it's helpful because I know that most of the time, most of my meals, I have like a carb and a protein.
Mhm.
And now I'm trying to figure out like, because I can't really do animal protein. Most of the time I eat chicken or fish.
Mhm.
Well, when I'm off of the Daniel fast, I just eat chicken or fish, and I don't do a lot of fried.
Okay, well that's good.
So I do some fried, but not a lot.
Yes, same over here.
But so with the Daniel fast, I think with trying to come completely off of protein, it would shock my body worse than if I would say go to maybe like fish,
Right. Yeah.
you know, once or twice a day or whatever, like that, along with everything else, the low sugar, the no sugar,
Mhm.
you know, other
Yeah.
things I
Yeah.
can't eat.
It
Yeah.
is sugar, like you said, because the fruits, they naturally have sugar in them, and you also would have to watch your fruit intake so you're not going overboard. Um, but it is something where you can do a gradual, like maybe, like you said, twice a day, have some animal protein or fish. Or maybe like the first 2 weeks, do it. Last week, maybe you don't do it. But yeah, definitely come up with a plan with your doctor, because they'll be able to best give you specifics that fit your needs. But it is a huge shock. Um, and at the same time, doing, like, if you were to eat this way on a day-to-day basis, it is good for a diabetic diet. But if you're going like from night and day and then you go back and forth, then that can kind of mess with things. So good question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Snacks other than popcorn.
So if you can have popcorn or not.
No,
She said,
I said other than popcorn.
Oh,
It's
snacks.
the snacks other than popcorn.
Okay, so I have 55 snack ideas in here. So trail mix is an option. You can make your own trail mix, because the ones at the store are likely going to have M&Ms in it or chocolate pieces. And so I give some options for that, such as regular trail mix, so classic, fruit blend, apple cinnamon, tart and tangy with cranberries, berry crunch, or pumpkin spice. Then this one is a list of 55 snack ideas, so I can just read. I won't read all 50, but so popcorn is number one, so you must know. Popcorn with smoked paprika. So doing rice cakes with avocado and sesame seeds on top, dried fruit with nuts, whole fruit and raisins, celery, raisins, and peanut butter. Dates, those are kind of high in sugar though, so just be careful if you are diabetic. So dates with peanut butter on the inside. Some people say it tastes like a candy bar. I don't agree with that, but some people say that you need something sweet. So with a date, it has a seed on the inside, so you're going to cut out the seed and then you stick the peanut butter on the inside. Those chickpeas, so I was telling you about the roasted chickpea option. You can actually season them up, roast them in the oven, and you can eat these kind of like chips. I guess it'll be crunchy, so if you need something crunchy. And you could do like a citrus version, you could do Southwest, You do Asian style, roasted chickpeas. Guacamole, there's a guacamole recipe in here as well. You could do homemade granola bars also.
Ooh.
So, yep. And then also thinking about snacks, not thinking of it as like sweet and salty, but something that's like filling. So making sure you have a protein option with your snack, because part of the reason why you want a snack is because you're hungry and you are missing out on some protein. So, like a bean dip, so black beans with a whole wheat tortilla, baked chips, doing a pear with almond butter, things of that sort. So those are some ideas, and I'll flip through the snack section. And in the cookbook, I put the snacks and the sides together because sometimes we think, oh, I just need a little something, but you also might actually just need more than a little something. You might need a big something. And that could just be a side, like an extra set of veggies. So I've got some sauteed zucchini and
That
squash.
is good.
Potatoes are my favorite. The Lord was showing out when he made potatoes because they're so versatile and you can have them on the damn fast. Baby carrots. And these are good raw as well with some dip, homemade dip if you have it. And then fruit salad if you need something sweet. And so I give a couple different options for that. A couple different combinations, so like a tropical blend, berry blend, watermelon kiwi, melon mix, fresh and fruity. And open space for you to come up with your own. So if you don't already have a copy of the cookbook, you can visit danielfastmeals.com and get your copy. And then I did include a recipe that traditionally on the Daniel Fast you would not be able to have, but I did it because I know some people doing the fast is a little hard for them, or they have kids, like in my case, and their kids need something to kind of bring them into the fold of doing the Daniel Fast. And so the only ingredient in here that's not Daniel Fast friendly is date syrup. And it's a replacement for maple syrup. So it's dates that are boiled and then it makes a syrup. So I do give that caveat just so you know, but these are a good snack because they're high in protein and they kind of help your sweet tooth. So just a caveat, but I did include that in there as well. Let's see if there's any other snacks. Okay, and then the rest is seasoning in the back. And sides. So someone mentioned guacamole earlier. Got a guacamole recipe as well. Good question. People tend to get very hungry with the snacks. What kind of dip can you have? So, any kind of homemade dip that you make, or any dip that doesn't have added sugar. So hummus, you can have that. And you can buy the store brand you can buy that at the store. Sabra, I think is the brand that has a red label on it. You can make black bean dip, which you just boil the black beans, add your seasonings. There's a black bean recipe in here as well. Blend it up. You can use baked chips with that. You can do white bean dip. So I don't think I have any, but you can actually use the chickpeas for this too. So you can boil the chickpeas, blend them up, and that makes a dip as well. You can use navy beans, cannellini beans, and that will get you some fiber and protein all together. And any of that. And you can season it however you want it to taste. Like, ooh, I want some steak. Season your dip how you would season a steak. And it's not gonna be the same, but it will help you a little bit on that way. So thank you, Veronica. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for joining us.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
You're welcome, Miss Bo. Thank you for your questions. Hopefully I'm saying your name right.
Well, this again has been a wonderful demonstration. Thank you, Miss Ashley, Chef Ashley, again for participating with us in our annual fast and giving us a nice demonstration and some tips that we can use. We still have 11 days to go. So now we're not afraid of seasonings and too much seasoning.
Please season your food, yes. But unless you feel convicted by the seasonings and you feel like it's a crutch, then don't use them. But yes, please season your food. You will need more seasonings because the meat, in some cases, acts like the seasoning in some of our dishes. So if you think about collard greens, you're using the meat to season the greens. So definitely use your seasonings. And if you need more ideas, definitely check out my cookbook. It's available for digital download and spiral and hardcover at danielfastmeals.com. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. No,
Oh,
the recipe book is not at the church, Miss Ellen.
it's
You'd
not.
have to order it.
Yes, so you have
How much is that recipe book? How much is that?
So this one is $40 and it includes the digital copy. So you would get instant access to the digital copy until you get your physical one. And it's hardcover, spiral, or you can get lay flat hardcover, meaning that it'll lay all the way flat on the counter so you can skip. The digital one is $20 and it'll be delivered to your inbox instantly through email.
Thank
And
you.
I put the link in the chat if you need it. But it's just danielfastmeals.com.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Ashley, Chef Ashley. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank all of you for
Thank
participating
you.
tonight. It was awesome as usual.
Thank you for having me, and hopefully I can come back next year and then we can cook some more.
Absolutely. You didn't tell us about the baby.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so he is 8 months, well, he'll be 8 months old tomorrow. So he was born in May, and then my oldest, he's 4 and he's obsessed with baby brother.
Uh,
And his name is Michael. So he's a joy to us.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in.
You're welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi.
All
Good
right.
night. Good night. God
Thank you
bless.
so much.
Good night.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Have
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for joining.
Lawford.
Everyone.